Good morning, students, and welcome to the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and in particular, welcome to the School of Law. My name is Dr. Rowena Bernard, and I am the academic leader for teaching and learning at the Howard College and Pietermaritzburg campus. I manage one of the most important portfolios, and more specifically relevant to you, and that is the teaching and learning portfolio. I am a senior lecturer within the school itself, and I do engage with students and involve very much in the development of teaching and learning principles that apply to you. With this particular portfolio, I have two deputy academic leaders that are appointed within the school. At the Pietermaritzburg campus, we have Dr. Kulakani Kumalo, who is also a senior lecturer within the school, and we have Mr. Asipalele Ngubani, who is a deputy academic leader here at the Howard College campus. Unfortunately, they were not able to be present today because they were busy with another teaching, a very important teaching and learning function, which is the advising of students who are on risk and probation counseling. But they've asked me to extend a very warm welcome to you and to wish you everything of the best in your career with us and in your studies. With me today, we have Dr. Vishal Serban. Dr. Serban is, in fact, also a senior lecturer with us at the Howard College campus. He specializes in maritime law at both a national and an international level. He writes extensively in the area and supervises considerably in the area. And he's actually just come back and returned from delivering international lectures in this particular field. Dr. Serban is he's very, very much involved in the orientation of our LLB first-year students. And he has, over the past few years, devised and created a nice orientation program. So his role today will be to introduce to you firstly, the law, and provide you with some sort of historical context about our school so that you understand where we come from, who are your lecturers, and where you fit into the bigger scheme of things. He will also speak to you about the LLB curriculum. I'm sure, you know, as first-year students leaving high school, coming here to the university, it's very daunting, and you know, it may feel a little overwhelming. That is why we are here today to reassure you that we are here to guide you through the process and give you as much information as we can, not to overwhelm you, but to help you so that you don't feel like you are lost through this first couple of weeks. And remember, we always have an open door policy. I'm sure you've got our email, so you can always email us with queries, and we will definitely try our best to help you and guide you as far as the process. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the School of Law. I wish you everything of the best. I envision that your experience with the law school is going to be a very eventful and interesting and engaging one, and that you succeed in your academic studies and you progress successfully from year to year. So I'm now going to hand you over to Dr. Sabin. In terms of questions, there is a Q&A button or icon at the bottom of your screen. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to type them up and I will try and answer those questions on that particular chat. But if at the end of Dr. Sabin's discussion with you, if you have any questions that you still would like to ask, you are more than welcome to ask that. And we will try and answer them. But please remember that questions relating to funding, NSFAS funding, fees, and accommodation, transportation, unfortunately, we don't have access to that information. Our role here today is to provide you with academic advice. So you would then need to please contact the relevant departments who would be better equipped to address those particular concerns. Thank you very much. Dr. Sabin?
All right. Thank you, Dr. Bernard. And as Dr. Bernard has indicated, you are very welcome to post questions in the chat, and also feel free to use the reaction buttons. It's good to see some form of interaction as well. So once again, welcome to the School of Law. You might be particularly wondering, why am I particularly standing here? I'm just one of many lecturers in the School of Law. But the reason for my presence here and presentation to you is that I am your first year lecturer. So I will be the first person that you see on Monday morning, bright and early, and when we're going to get ready to start, with our academic program. But firstly, I want to congratulate all of you on your acceptance in the school. We've had several thousand applications to the School of Law, perhaps around between 7,000 and 8,000 applications. And we have a fairly small class of around about 200 first-year students. So, and we have a rigorous process of vetting and acceptance. So your seat here and your presence here is in itself an accolade, and we want to commend you and congratulate you on that and for making it. So what my presentation is going to be, I'm going to speak for roughly half an hour, and then I'm going to show you lots of pictures and give you lots of advice on and context on the school. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you firstly about the place you are studying, where you're going to be studying. Now, I'm based on the Harvard College campus, but there might be some students here that will be based on the Pietermaritzburg campus. So we're going to talk to you about where you are studying. I'm going to just tell you a little bit about the school, and then we're going to talk about what you have chosen to study. What is this LLB program in a nutshell? And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about how you're going to go about in studying for this program. What are some of the essential skills and what are the methods that we're going to use? I'm going to talk to you about the way, like what are the facilities and what do you have access to, and also about getting certain kinds of help and how to not feel overwhelmed and who are here to support you. And finally, we'll make some remarks about the meaningfulness about being at varsity, the enjoyment, the holistic experience about being at varsity. And then I'm going to show you a little slide deck. I'm going to introduce you to aspects of what we're doing, the moot programs, etc. So all of this we'll cover quite nicely within an hour or so. And so let me then start off by telling you about where you are studying. So you've applied here to the School of Law at UKZN. The first thing to know is that this school, it's been known as, the university has been known as UKZN for the past 21 years, but it has a much longer history. And the history of this law school goes back to its ancestor institutions, the University of Durban, Westville, and the University of Natal. And so collectively, the history goes back 115 years. We were one of the first law schools or law faculties that opened in the country. So immediately it's important for you to know that you are in an illustrious and well-established faculty. So given the fact that the history is over 115 years, you can imagine the thousands of alumni that were part of the school. We've had successful students, illustrious alumni. They've been prominent across South Africa and globally. Our degree programs are internationally recognized and have an extraordinarily high pedigree. So that really is what you have stepped into, an illustrious, well-established faculty. Now, as I said, I'm going to show you some pictures in a short while, but I just wanted to have the opportunity to just talk to you one-to-one. So let's look at then what you have chosen to study. So when we talk to you on Monday, I'm gonna ask you this question ahead. You all signed up for something called the LLB. Now, I hope everyone understands what does LLB stand for. Maybe it should have been BOL, isn't it? Bachelor of Laws, but it's called LLB. So we'll investigate on Monday what that means. But in the school, the undergraduate offering that we have is called the LLB. Other schools have many different degree offerings, but in our law school, the undergraduate offering, the sole offering that we have is called the Bachelor of Laws program. And that is what you have all signed up for. It is a 4-year program, and that program is requisite for you to enter into the professional legal field. Right now, the professional field, when we're talking about, are the fields of the legal practitioners that are your attorneys and advocates and prosecutors and magistrates and judges. That is the legal profession, but there is a much wider aspect, which I'll talk about at the end, where graduates can go into many different aspects, not necessarily the traditional professional route. Also, some years back, the Council for Higher Education did an intensive audit of all law schools in the country. And there's been an intensive audit as well of our own law school. And we came out as one of the top performing law schools in the country. These documents are publicly available. You're welcome to go and see it. Now, in the LLB degree program, you're going to be here with us for 4 years, right? So over the 4 years, you're going to be doing a series of modules. Now, the module is a course that is offered over 6 months. So you'll be doing possibly plus or minus 40 modules over your, plus or minus, Dr. Bernard, 40 modules over your 4-year period. Each module has a credit point. Some are 16 credit modules, some are 12 credit modules, some are 8 credit modules. All of those modules, once you've passed and completed, you must have 520 credit points to be awarded your degree. Now, that's just a bit of the maths that's involved with the modules. Now, if you would have chosen a degree that that's involved in commerce or something that is very involved in mathematics, you will find that your degree program, the modules that you do get progressively more difficult. So you would do a Maths 101, then in the second year, you would do another more advanced version of that, and then you would do a more advanced version of that. The question is then, in your law program, does each year, do the modules get more and more progressively difficult? And the answer for that is slightly different. We describe law as if you think of a large tree with many, many different branches. And all of these different branches, in a sense, represents a module that you're doing. So over the course of these 4 years, you're going to be traversing one end of the tree to the other end of the tree, doing module after module, and you're covering all the branches. So for example, if you think of the tree as having big branches and then little branches. So for example, a big branch of law would be in a realm called public law. Now, in public law, you have smaller branches of law, like, for example, criminal law, the law of evidence, the law of criminal procedure. Now, each of these little branches represents a module that you will be doing over your 4 years. So there's like, for example, I've given you this one big branch of public law, but you also get another big branch, for example, business law. And in business law, the other branches that go off are, for example, corporate law, cyber law, intellectual property law. So all of these branches now that you will be doing that represent your modules are all compulsory modules that you will be doing during the course of your degree program. However, in your first year and in your final year, you have some small discretion of what modules you can choose, and those are termed electives. So in your first year, there are certain, you will do 2 law modules, but you will also do some elective modules that come from the humanities department. Now, the reason for doing that is that it is a bit of a remnant of a system that we had some 30 years ago. 30 years ago, every student would have to have done what was termed a Bachelor of Arts degree or a B.Proc degree, and thereafter they would do an LLB as a postgraduate degree. Now, 30 years ago, that was changed and an undergraduate LLB was created. And so the remnant of that Bachelor of Arts degree is left over in your first year, where you do a few interesting electives. You can do modules from politics to classical civilization, to philosophy, to history. So there are some interesting electives in the humanities that you can choose. But also in the first year, there's also something called a first year program that you will receive more information on that. And you will also do a critical and social justice module as well. So there are some prescribed modules and some choices that you'll do in your first year. And then in your final year, when you've now reached a more advanced and experienced level of study, you can choose interesting legal electives. So for example, you can choose a specialist elective in maritime law or environmental law or income tax, for example. So in summary, the degree is extraordinarily versatile, very interesting. You're not sitting and doing one, like you're not sitting and only doing criminal work or criminal law. There are many different branches, and it'll keep your interest. It'll pique your ability to research in different areas as well. So also, I've mentioned now that is your undergraduate program that you'll be doing. So what you're doing, the LLB, is what we term an undergraduate. So once you've completed the 4 years and you graduate, then you can enter into the profession and you can do your articles or your pupillage and then enter the legal profession following the writing of a professional entry exam. They call it the board exam or the bar exam if you want to be an advocate. But there are also options for you to come back to the varsity and do what you call postgraduate studies. That post means after. So postgraduate studies means you can do a master's degree, and we have many different offerings, from a master's degree in maritime law to environmental law to medical law to business law to childcare and protection to constitutional litigation. So the school offers an extraordinary range of that. So that really is, in a sense, the what you're going to study in the simplest form. All the full lists of the modules, we will send you documents on an interactive portal, which we call Learn 2025. And those documents will list in more detail each and every module that you're going to be doing. Now let's talk about the how. So now you know what you're going to be studying. The next question to look at is how you're going to be studying it. Now there's a very big difference between the mode of instruction in high school as opposed to university. In high school, you were called pupils. At university, you are called students. In high school, you had classes and you had lessons. At university, you have something called lectures. So what I'm doing now is very similar to a lecture. I stand up and I deliver a topic, right? You can be sitting in a much larger venue In a school, your classroom was small, 30 students or so. You have a larger venue, so you have over 100 students, or sometimes 150 students sitting in one lecture venue. But it does not mean now that you're sitting in a large venue, you're largely invisible as a student to the faculty. What we do is we have other forms of instruction, and they are called tutorials. Now, this is where we give you an exercise and we divide you up into much smaller groups. And in these smaller groups, we interrogate the work that you've done, we discuss it, and so you have an opportunity to interact with what we term a tutor or your lecturer. Okay. So in the lectures, we are now teaching you about all the different branches of law in the different modules. Now, in terms of the tools of your trade, so to speak, what are all the tools? If you were studying something in the sciences, you might find your laboratory equipment. You might be sitting in a laboratory. But for the law student, your pieces of equipment are the books that we have in the form of cases and statutes and legislation. Those are the tools of your trade. That's what you're going to be reading, and that's what we're going to be engaging with. University is very different from the school system. The school system, they're trying to teach you something, that there's a concept and they make you learn it. But in university, we teach you concepts, but we also expect you to think critically. And that is the big distinction, between a schooling education and a tertiary education at university, where we engage with you. We want you to think critically. We want you to take the information that we provide you with and apply your mind to it. We teach you methods of doing that. We will talk to you about something called the FIRAC method, for example. The FIRAC method, where we teach you how to solve a legal problem in a methodological fashion. So all of those modules that I talked about, these various branches of the big tree, when you start off each of these modules, we will give you what you call a module outline. We will give you all the topics that need to be covered. We will give you the reading lists. We will give you all the necessary information that you need with that. Now, in terms of your skills, you're going to be developing a lot of skills over the course of the next few years. That goes without saying. But also it's helpful to come in to your studies with a few skills, and that is particularly reading, comprehension, and writing. Uh, as I've said before, the tools of your trade are cases and statutes and what you call legislation that requires you to do a lot of reading. The degree here that you're doing is very reading intensive. It is not practical on the field where you're doing experiments. You're working with the documents, so it's very important that you get yourself, if you have not been in a culture of reading, to get yourself in this culture of reading, and try not to resist that notion of having to read and finding the shortest possible way out of someone giving you a summary of something when you don't have to read that. If you want to be the most effective and proficient and prolific lawyer, we encourage you at this very outset to have a strong reading culture, and don't resist that. So that is in terms of the how aspect, how we're going to be delivering the modules to you by this process of lectures and tutorials. And of course, we assess you during the course of what you call the semester. There's 2 semesters in a year, and we assess you with tests or assignments, and then each module has examinations at the end. Of course, we will guide you through all of these processes. We'll tell you how to prepare. We will tell you when the examinations are, and so you'd be adequately prepared. But if something you can do over this weekend is get yourself a diary, because we've got lots of planning and lots of preparation to do. So come in on Monday with a notebook and with a diary as well. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is, where are you going to be doing all of this studying and these lectures? So there are many in the university. We have many libraries that are both online and physical. So you have physical libraries across the campuses, but you also have what you term an online library, which is even more extensive than our physical libraries. The university spends millions of rands subscribing to all the important databases that give you an extraordinary free access to information that will assist you with your studying, with your research as you get further advanced in your studies. So when you become master students, you're going to be doing extensive research, and we provide you with all of these. There are things called LANs, local area networks. In simple terms, it's computer rooms. There's plenty of computer rooms all over the university, and we have specialist LANs in our in our law school, and we have a specialist law library that has some 40,000 books. And of course, the biggest thing that I'd like to share with you is that the law school is based in a magnificent building on the Howard College campus. The image behind me is the Howard College building, and that is the building, the original building of the campus, and the Howard College campus was named after that. And our Pietermaritzburg campus also has a wonderful separate law school building with all the facilities that are there. So these are, you're going to find yourself in an extraordinarily wonderful environment. For those of you that are going to walk into Howard College building, the moment you walk into this historic building, it'll just give you the sense of awe and wonder at being in this incredible environment. It's going to just make you feel wonderful. I also studied here as well, and I did my LLB here. And I can still vividly recall that first day of walking into this building and being in absolute awe. And I've been working here for a long time as well. But that feeling never really left me. And I still feel sometimes the sense of awe in being in this incredible hall of legal learning. So you're going to be doing this intensive work in an extraordinary environment. But having said a lot of that, there are also many things that will weigh on your mind. That transition that you're going to have between high school to university is a very big one. The school environment is a much more compact environment in a sense. You have about 1,000 learners or 1,000 pupils in a school. Some of you might have come from an all-girls school or an all-boys school. Some of you might have come from a deep rural school or a school that is specifically based on a particular religious doctrine. Okay, you might have come from an Islamic school or a Catholic school. So your environment is largely sheltered, smaller classes. Sometimes the teachers know each of your names. But the university environment is a much larger one. It is a much more diverse one. It can feel quite overwhelming when you walk in. You can get lost. The campus is large. You can get lost. You can feel overwhelmed. You're not sure who to reach out for help. Now, the important thing that we are saying in this particular briefing is that there's a lot of support that is there for you to assist you in transitioning. Remember, we spoke about the thousands of alumni that have come to this university, and each of them have been at this point where you are now. And each of them have been able to successfully navigate their way. And we're going to assist you with that. We have a lot of support structures. We are your lecturers, myself, Dr. Bernard, Dr. Soni that's here. We are the academic staff, the lecturers, but you also have support staff. You have academic development officers, you have supplemental instructors, you have tutors. So you have a whole stream of people assisting you in the law school. But in addition to that, part of your extended orientation this week, you'll also learn of the many different support services that are available, from disability officers to wellness clinics to security services. All right, you're going to get all of these different support services that are available to you. You're going to know within the next week, where to find these services, who to contact. And during our lectures on Monday, I'm going to introduce you to some of the people that are involved. We even offer computer literacy skills for students that feel that, okay, they might not be at the best level. I might have come from a school that didn't even have any computers. How is it that the worry that some students might have is that you might have come from a background where you might have not had access to maybe even the internet. And then you're coming into a law school where you're seeing other students have come from schools where all of them had their own personal laptops. So one of the things is that in your first year, we provide you with all of these different mechanisms and different assistance to help you put you all on the same path and then we can engage in the rest of the years of our studies very productively. So there are a lot of support services. And then finally, what I do want to say before I start sharing some images with you is that the university life is not only just your academics and studying for the LLB. The university offers, like in school, many different extracurricular activities. You'll have many interesting public lectures. You have incredible clubs and societies that you can join. So in the School of Law, you have the Moot Society, the Student Law Review, the Black Lawyers Association, many different, and the Moot Club, the Debating Union, many interesting clubs and societies that excludes other ones that are outside the School of Law that are large sporting societies, religious societies, cultural societies as well. So it can give you a really holistic experience. Many people say that sometimes the I beg your pardon, the many students actually say that once they've completed their degrees and they've gone out into the wider world, that the university years were some of the best years of their lives. And we hope that you now enter this era and hope to make it some of the best years of your lives. So what I want to do then, that's really the general holistic information that we have, that we provided for you. What we want to do is we want to then just show you some general, I'm going to take you through a little slide deck now, and I'm going to just show you a little bit of images about our school and the experience that you're going to have in this. So the School of Law, as I've shown you, this is the Howard College building where the law school is based. All right, this is a bit of the Howard, and of course we have the Pietermaritzburg campus as well. And but what I'm showing you here, this is an aerial photo of where the campus is situated in the broader scheme of Durban. You'll see that the Howard College building is this building right at the center of the campus. And this was the original building of the campus, okay? We've mentioned that it was established through its ancestor institutions, so it has over a century of tradition. So we have the Howard College campus and the Pietermaritzburg campus. Okay, it's ranked in one of the top 500 universities in the world. Now, one might think that that's a low number. I mean, we're not the top 10 or the top 20, but when you think about the many thousands of tertiary institutions across from which these ranking systems are based, that's an extraordinary pedigree. And that's largely based as well on the research pedigree of the staff, which I'll talk about in a moment. So here again, these are the history of the university goes back much longer than the 21 years of UKZN. You would have had the ancestor institutions, the University of Durban, Westville, and the University of Natal, that had their own law faculties. This, for example, was the original faculty of law at the University of Durban, Westville. It was actually based on a little island in the harbor where students had to take a ferry in the 1960s. This is now the modern Westville campus, but you will not be based on this campus. You will be based solely on the Howard College or solely on the Pietermaritzburg campus. This is an image of the original building on the Maritzburg campus, and the law school is on this particular campus. As I've said before, the School of Law has had a very long history through its ancestor institutions. This is your very first law class. This was the very first professor of law. Now, you'll see that, of course, times have changed a lot, and how students dress and how students look are much different now. But it just gives you an indication of how old this law school is and where you are now studying. And over the years, the law school has been extraordinarily active. You can see over the years they've been involved in activism and social justice. So it's not just a school that's just sitting there and making you read cases and law. It's actively engaged with the society and the community from a very long time. You'll find the professors walking in their academic robes and protesting various things and advocating for various things. So you find that in the school itself, this was a former judge. There are people that come in that address you in various functions that they have in the school. So this itself is the building, another view of the building. The lecturers' offices are based on the top floors. The law library is on the bottom floor. There are your lecture rooms at the back of this building as well. So this will be pretty much your home for the next 4 years at the school. In terms of faculty, the lecturers that will be taking with you, we've had a very long history of many illustrious faculty. So as I said, these are, for example, Birchall and Milton. If you are in area of criminal law, you have learned that these professors on the Pietermaritzburg campus were some of the most eminent in the country, leading scholars. You have current scholars as well. Your current lecturers, here I am on this side, dressed a little differently, and you have your current academics that are specialists in their different fields. Some of the highlights of the law school itself, it had one of the first law clinics in the country, the first moot program in the country, the first maritime law institute in the country, the first human rights module in the country. So as I've said, we've had prominent academics, prominent alumni. Alumni means the former students, and notable speakers and visitors in this time. Even here, this is a recent picture from 5 years ago. These are some of the judges in one of the highest courts in the country, the Supreme Court of Appeal. And why these few judges came and took this photo together is that all of these judges were graduates of this law school at the Pietermaritzburg campus. You'll find many of the chief justices or the highest judicial officer in the country were graduates from this law school. Many of the chief justices were graduates of this very law school. Here's another image of the SRC in the 1970s. This young man on the side in the 1971 was a young man, Malcolm Wallace. He was a student in the law school. He then became one of the most prominent senior counsel advocates and then became a judge of the Supreme Court of Appeal. He was the very first winner of our moot competition in 1972. And here he is here in 2022, 50 years later, being a judge on that. And these are all the actual judges from the courts that come in to assess the moots. And we will show you some pictures of that and talk to you. The moot is where you have a fictional case that is presented and the students have to argue that. This is done at a more advanced level in your final year, but we also have first year versions of moots on simpler problems, but the final year ones are more intensive that requires a lot of legal analysis. You'll see here, Chief Justice Mogoeng was one of our past Chief Justices in our law school. He was also a graduate of the school. Here you'll find that you have in the context of our school many visitors that come in and many interesting conferences that happen. You have people coming from all around the world coming in to visit our law school. We have our law school graduates going to many different places. These are people from our Pietermaritzburg campus as well. And then you have like some of our graduates going on particular programs that are offered, like different industries come in and offer certain vocational training programs, and some of our students take advantage of that, apply for these and get selected. You can see here pharmaceutical companies had a legal workshop with some of our students recently. We also have, for example, clubs and societies. So here are students in one of our boardrooms working through the student law review, an academic publication of the school. We then have career days where We invite law firms to come in and do presentations and give advice to students, career advice post your studies. You can see these are very interesting. In fact, but interestingly, some of the people that are working for these organizations like these were actually also former students of the university as well. Now, here I am looking a little bit younger, but these are, now Dr. Bernard mentioned that I'm a maritime law expert, so I took occasionally some of our students on a special field trip down to the harbor. And then I'm just showing you little extracts of some of the lovely people that have been winners of moot competitions and high accolades. You can see practitioners come in and give them special awards for all the performances that they've done. This young girl was a few years ago. She eventually got a scholarship to Harvard University and completed a master's degree there. So there's a lot of opportunity to grow even further. And one of our academics even met the Queen. So there's a lot of wide-ranging reach of our academics and our faculty. This is we haven't taken a faculty photo in a while, but this was a faculty, a few years back, this was what the faculty looked like. And one important thing to see is that all of them are wearing the gowns because they are either legal practitioners or hold doctoral degrees or academic degrees in law and are specialists in their various areas. And this is, once again, we're standing outside the Howard College building. Now, I told you have extraordinary facilities, the beautiful Howard College building. As I said, when you enter the building, there's a sense of awe in the magisterial kind of ambience of this building. You have an extensive law library that has 37,000 volumes. The books date back, one of the earliest books are from 1612. So you have some really extensive legal collections, online databases as well. So here we have some of the students training for moot finals. So you see they're wearing the gowns of a lawyer, and they're arguing fictitious cases. These two gentlemen were from our Pietermaritzburg campus. Here again, these are some students recently finalists of our moot competition from Pietermaritzburg. These are some of the Howard College graduates. And here I am, looking a little bit younger, but I took a few of our students a few years back to the Supreme Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein to argue a first-year moot competition, and our students did really well. Here are examples of tutors. These are final year students that would come in and tutor you in your first year. So this is an example of a recent class. So when you do your introduction to law module with me, you'll be allocated one of these tutors who will then take you through all the exercises. And of course, here are some photos of some graduating students. These are some recent years. This is about 2 years ago. These were cum laude. It's a Latin word which means with the highest praise. And then you get summa cum laude with even higher praise. So these were the cum laudes. The previous photo showed you with the summa cum laudes. And so essentially, when you're coming in, you're going to be a part of this family at Howard College. Remember, I showed you some years back, some slides back, the picture of the very first law class. But as I said, students have changed. Their dress code is different. Demographics are different. The society is different. The technology is different. The thinking is different. So you have modern students, but they look all excited in their first year, but we've polished them up quite nicely, and this is them in their final year. You can see they're still alive and still some smiles after 4 years of lectures and tutorials. And of course, these are some of our students. 2 years ago, this was the final year class. I decided that was the very last lecture with me in their final year, and I said, let me take a photograph of them to commemorate. And it was very bittersweet for them after all these years. So this is a lecture room on the Howard College campus, and this is an example of how you will be in your lectures. And of course, these are students getting ready to, there's some of our professors down here with the faculty dog, and of course, this is the end with your walking down the aisle, getting ready for your graduation, and of course, the sheer joy of coming out with a law degree from years of intensive study and the actual sense of satisfaction from it. I've seen this every year. I participate in the graduation ceremonies, and I see the extreme joy and the emotion and the hope that students have for the future. So you're coming in, it is daunting, it can seem difficult, but it is a journey that has incredible rewards and will forge your future careers for you. So that really then, folks, is my presentation and my little discussion on that. I hope that that was particularly useful for you. And of course, I will be seeing you on Monday for your first set of lectures. Now, I'm going to email you, all of you, about a reading that's about 550 pages long, which you all have to read by Monday. And I'm going to test you on it. Okay, I joke for this. The jokes are dry, but you'll get used to it. So nevertheless, I will see you on Monday and I will introduce you. There are about 50 students here, but our class is a little bit larger. So I might repeat some of the things that I've spoken today for the benefit of those who will be joining. So in your first lecture, I'll talk to you about the introduction to law module. I will talk to you about what is expected of you. I'll introduce you to my teaching assistant. I'll introduce you to some of the other staff that's there, and I will tell you a little bit about this school as well. So also during the course of this, we will make some arrangements to have tours of the, now given that this is a virtual orientation, you can be a bit overwhelmed when you come to campus. I mean, where do you even find a toilet? Where do you find some place to eat? Where do you find some place to sit down? So when you're there on Monday and you find yourself on the campus and you make your way to the lecture venue, the Monday lecture venue, if you got maybe if Dr. Bernard could just type in the chat, TB Davis building, that is where you will have your first set of lectures on Monday morning. So I think I will leave it at that. I've put in quite a bit of information and some images, but I hope that that gives you a bit of a sense of where you're going to be studying and the pedigree of what you're going to be doing. So I hope that that was useful to you. I'm going to hand you over now to Dr. Bernard. She has been fielding some questions and responses, and I'll hand you over to her. And I want to thank you very much for your attention, and I really, really look forward to seeing you on Monday and engaging with you. Please do come in and say hello to me after the lectures as well. Don't be a student number. I want to know who you are. I want to know your name, and I want to get to know all of you in the class. So thank you very much, and good morning to all of you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Servant. I think you very concisely provided a very nice welcome and introduction for our first year students, and contextualize very much what they can anticipate going forward into their LLB degree. And you know, as we said, it can be a little overwhelming for them, but I think with the information that you've given to them, it should reassure them to some extent as to what is required of them. So I have, in fact, been fielding the questions through the chat and the Q&A, and I think I have answered all of the questions that were coming up. So I'm going to leave or just ask if there are any further questions, that this be the opportunity for us to address them at this stage. Lungi, I don't know. I think I have, in fact, replied to all of the questions as they were coming up.
We've seemed to have replied to most of them, but we have a hand raised. I don't know if you can allow Nandipa
Yes,
to ask her question.
Sure.
Nandipa, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Nandipa, I don't know if you can hear me.
Nandipa's been asking a lot of questions on the chat, and I've tried.
I don't know. She had her hand raised, so I don't know if she can hear us. If not, please just type your question on the Q&A box.
Yeah.
I don't see any more questions. I don't have hand raised. So if there's anyone else, please come forth with your question.
So I'm also looking at the questions. I think I'm seeing one of the last ones. Kiara was asking about a tour of the campus. And I think I'll be very happy to make some arrangements in the first week with some graduate assistants, and we'll arrange for a little tour of the campus. Also, what I will do is I will also give you guys a map of the campus and a little sketch of the campus as well, so that you can get yourself orientated with that. So most of you are coming into our Howard College campus is the larger of the law schools. The Pietermaritzburg campus has slightly smaller numbers, and it's a slightly smaller campus. But we'll make arrangements for you to have tours on both the campuses.
Yeah. And Dr. Sabin, I'm not sure because I was filtering the questions. Did you mention the survival guide that you've put together and compiled?
Yes. So what we've done is, so some of the things that I've spoken about here as well. How do you survive your first week on campus? And then what about your first month and your first year? And all the support services, the details, etc. I will be preparing a survival guide for all of you. And on Monday, when I meet you in class, I will tell you how to access these documents through an online portal called the Learn portal. Okay. The name of the building where you'll be attending your first lecture on Monday is, and I'm just going to type it in the chat. It's called the TB Davis Building, and the venue is called L4. Now this is for your Monday lecture, okay?
Dr. Sabin, remember that the groups are split into group A and B. So it depends on their timetable. And I did put it in the chat that they need to consult the timetable, and that they have been split into two groups. So they do need to go and check that out.
Yes.
Otherwise,
so some of them will come in for the first two lectures. That's from half past 8 to 20 past 10. And the next few from thereafter until 10 past 12. So not everyone is coming in. The entire class is split into two. And so it'll be a group A and a group B. So you must check the timetable as whether you're in a group A or a group B, because the lectures follow each other. They are repeated. You can't just go to any lecture that you wish, because some of the venues, like in that Howard College, are small and are catered for the numbers that we've divided the class into. Okay. All right.
There is a question on the critical social justice module. That I'm not too sure. The question is whether there isn't a specific block number for the critical social justice module. That's because there isn't a compulsory lecture, as far as I know, for that particular module. Everything's done online. So when you register for the module, and when you get onto the Learn portal, all the information relating to that particular module will in fact be available for you with regards to that. Okay, so you do need to register and have access to the Learn portal, and all the details will be there for you. Okay, let's just see what else is there. So the question is that the timetable is very confusing. How do we get assistance with it? So the way that the timetable is worked out, right, is that there is a law module, for all LLB students. And then you, as first year students, are required to also do what we call non-legals, as Mr. Serban explained to you. Now, that you would normally register through the College of Humanities, right? And they have got their own timetable, and the modules are offered in what we call blocks A, B, C, D, and E, right? So what you are going to have to do is look at where are your law modules. So you're only doing one law module for the semester, and that is Introduction to Law. So you will, as Mr. Serban has already pointed out, you have lectures on a Monday in, say, for example, first and second period. And then the other group has lectures in the third and fourth period, right? You also will have tutorials. So you will have to select your non-legals, and you will have to consult the timetable from humanities for the modules that you are doing with them, and see in each block where there are no clashes with your law module. And it's generally block E and F that doesn't clash with your law modules. So that is how you will have to figure out your law timetable with your with the non-legals. So it's only in this first year that you'll have this kind of drama. Once you're in your second year, you will not have these kinds of issues because we pre-plan the timetable for you and you just attend in the group that you have to. Okay. So the next question relates to credits. So basically, every single module that you attend or register for has what we call credits. So at the end of your degree, you have to accumulate 520 credits. And for every single module that you do, it's given a certain number of credits. So we have in law 8 credit modules, 12 credit modules, and 16 credit modules. Now, each module is assigned or allocated a number of credits. And those credits in each year add up to give you the 520 credits. It's also an indication of how much of time you should be allocating to a module in terms of your study period, right? Now, I don't want to go into too much of details with that because it's going to confuse you at this stage, because Mr. Serban can deal with that in the lecture. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's clarified it a little bit, right?
I can answer Kiara's question about the tutorials.
Please go ahead.
So Kiara, you've asked a question about tutorials, and you'll see that there are several slots for tutorials. Now, at this stage, I don't want you to worry about the tutorials and the timetable for that, because when our lectures start, I'll explain to you what the tutorials are and what is required of you. So I'll explain that to you on Monday. And then as the weeks progress, in the first 2 weeks, we will then allow students to have the opportunity to sign up for a tutorial in a specific slot. So that allocations will happen within the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks, all right? So don't worry at this present moment about the tutorials. You'll get all the instructions in class as we go along.
Thank you. Last question, how do we get the timetables? I've answered that already. Just go up, scroll up the chat. You'll find it on the student portal. There is an icon there that's got timetables, and you will find that, your timetable there. Is it possible for a lecture to start at 8:40 for intro to law? Because that's what my timetable starts. I'm not sure. Dr. Serban, what time do your lectures start?
Yes, it's possible. I'll see you all. If you're in that group, I'll see you at 20 to 9 in the morning. It's also, just to let you know, so this university has a rather odd first period that starts at 7:45 in the morning. So some of you, for certain modules, bear in mind, you're going to have to be here quite early in the morning at 7:45 for certain. That's the first period, right? The first period starts at 7:45 in the morning, and then there are 10 periods in the day. So you will not have, like in school, sitting from the morning till the afternoon in classes all the time. Depending on your timetable, you have a lot of gaps and free period, in between. So that's your own time. You can do what you want in that time. It's unlike school where you have to stay in school. You can leave the campus. You can do pretty much what you want, in your free time as well. Also, the list, sorry, Rowena, I'm just answering some as I'm seeing.
Please go ahead.
I will give you what you call a course outline on Monday, where the textbooks will be listed, what you need there as well. Is there something like, as I said, Tonia, I will give you a little map and a sketch as well of campus, and I'll show you how to find your way around as well. Okay? Yeah, I think that's what.
Dr. Sabin, just to reiterate that we do not give hard copies of the textbooks. If anyone wants to purchase any prescribed textbook in any module, it's left to them, but the university does not provide textbooks to students. Generally, we use the Learn portal and provide students with, if there's any electronic materials or any updates, we would provide it on the Learn portal for the students to access. But if there are if a student prefers to learn with hard copies, they are welcome to buy it at their own expense. Also, one other important point is that when you are corresponding or communicating, you are expected to use your student email address. We will not communicate with you via any private emails as well. Okay. All our lectures are delivered in person. We do not deliver our lectures online. So lecture attendance is compulsory and is very important and a necessity. So please be advised of that we do not upload videos or recordings of our lectures. And there will be no delivery of any online lectures. Online textbooks, Dr. Saban, sometimes, depending if they are available, but that is something that you will have, as a student, will have to sort out on your own. We don't make those available for our students. And the last, the modules I choose are not available when I want to create a timetable. I'm not sure, Unati, what does that mean? But I'm assuming that you've selected and registered for specific modules and the timetable is not available. That you would have to contact the school. If it is a non-legal, then you would have to contact, and I'm assuming it is because the LLB timetable is sorted and available. So you have to contact Humanities regarding their timetable with regards to that. Okay. All right. I think we have exhausted all of the questions. And on that note, I am going to close the session. So there's a question here about the groupings with A and B. So you would have received an email or from Mr. Govender, Ruben Govender. So what we've done is, because of the numbers of our students and because of the size of the venues, we've split the classes into Group A and Group B. And so you have to attend the lectures according to the group that you've been allocated in. So when you look at the timetable, you'll see 1A or 1B. And 1A means that that's the group for which lectures you have to attend. And 1B is the group for which the lectures that have been allocated to you. So you need to go to the list that has been given to you, see which group you've been allocated to, A or B, and you attend your lectures in there, right? So if you haven't been allocated a group, guys, please read the messages that are being typed up. I've given you Ms. Veronica Peters' email address in the chat. Please contact her with regards to your grouping. The timetable, we do not have an electronic version. As I've said, you need to go onto Student Portal and access it in that way. All right. Lungi, the questions that are coming up are questions that we've already addressed verbally and in writing.
Yes.
So I'm not going to proceed to address them. So I think we are done.
I'll just, if I can just make just a general comment, Rowena, when the students are coming in on Monday, please just, it's very hot, on campus as well. The Durban, there is a bit of a heat wave. February is always the hottest month. Please dress comfortably for the lectures. Carry yourself a notebook, a diary, and of course, bring a water bottle as well. It's very hot. So just so that you get yourself comfortable, because it's a double lecture, so it's 1.5 hours. So you'll be sitting there. So just be braced. You would have had your last lessons in school sometime in November last year. So it's a big transition. So make sure you're well rested and that you're cool and comfortable so that you are able to absorb all the information that we'll be able to give you on Monday morning. Okay, yeah. That's just some general things. So thanks.
Okay, thank you. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining the academic session this morning. I hope it was fruitful, that you gained as much information as you needed, and that between Dr. Sabin and myself, we've addressed your questions. We just take this opportunity to again welcome you to the School of Law, and again wish you everything of the best in your academic development. And again, please feel free to email us if you have any questions. Thank you very much and have a pleasant morning.